Hi, everyone. Welcome to VRAR Bytes podcast, our weekly show featuring the movers and shakers from the Central Florida chapter. Today, my special guest is Colonel Robert Epstein, commander of the U.S. Air Force Agency for Modeling and Simulation, based here in Orlando. Colonel Epstein has served the United States Air Force as an officer for the past 26 years and has held many interesting and prestigious positions as a communications officer, an aviator, a special advisor to various foreign allied countries, and as a commanding officer. Now, he served in numerous combat operations in the Balkans, Iraq, and Afghanistan, just to name a few, and has received numerous commendations and medals in recognition of his service. So this is a very special podcast because Colonel Epstein will be retiring from the Air Force next month, and so this will probably be the last interview for the VRAR that he will be doing while in uniform. Colonel, I just want to thank you for your support of the VRAR Association for the past few years and welcome you to our show.
Hey, John, thank you very much, and really appreciate what you guys are doing here in the Central Florida region. So this is fantastic. I'm glad I could support.
Thank you, sir. Now, you've commanded AFAMS for nearly 4 years. Can you talk about your experience at AFAMS, changes that you've seen either at AFAMS or the Air Force in general, and any initiatives that you're especially proud of?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I came into AFAMS was very focused on the constructive environments, very much your command and control side of the house. In the time that I've been here, we've sort of switched our focus from traditionally where we were using AWESOM and the federated model system into what we're doing now with SCARS, C2 SET, as well as the composite training environment. We've migrated more into how do you take the current technology, bring it into the way we're going to do training. And we've also focused more on the virtual simulators and how we prepare our aircrew for a night fight. So those have really been the big changes in the time I've been here. One of the things that happened right when I showed up was the OTI, Operational Training Infrastructure Flight Plan, was signed off. That got signed off in 2017 by the Chief of Staff. And that's been sort of the driving focus to go from where we were and what we were focusing on into how do we modernize the infrastructure so that we can actually take advantage of cutting edge technology and make sure that we're getting more realistic and relevant training for it.
Great. Now, we're starting to see a shift in the Air Force's willingness to accept technologies from the gaming industry for training purposes. Can you elaborate on that and kind of where do you see this going?
Yeah, so what's landing up happening at this point in the game is the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's pushing technology to make greater profit, better games, better connectivity, better throughput with lower latency, and those are directly applicable and transfer into the government sector. And so what we're trying to do is really push if you're going to train properly, how can you take advantage of what this industry is already doing and migrate it into the training space? If you listen to my boss, the A3T, so Major General Jacobson, if you listen to General Gervais, if you listen to the Navy, they're all saying the exact same thing. How do we bring those technologies, leverage off what the commercial industry is doing today, and push to make sure that we're getting what we need for training? It's not cosmic, but it's not been done before. And so where you're probably seeing the pushback or the resistance is how do we take this proven technology but migrate it into a new space where it's never been used?
Yeah, and I mean that's not a insurmountable challenge. There's a lot of we get it working in the commercial industry, and then we want to bring it over to the military. We've got issues like security, scalability. Do you see that potentially as an inhibitor, or do you think that's something that can be relatively easily overcome?
So I think it's a mixed question, right? So what I see is the inhibitor is it has to be proven before the government's willing to accept it, right? So this is where we demonstrate out the MLS. We're going to have to demonstrate out how can we conduct operations in a zero trust environment and demonstrate that we can do this without having any leak of information. I think that industry is already there, but it's going to be a matter of demonstrating it out, proving, so that the government is comfortable accepting that classified information and then running it.
Right.
So really, it's you got to prove it, and that's really, I think, we're on the cusp right now. The TRL level 6 technology that we're seeing, 7 technology. How does it make it into the government space and get up to the 9? That's the challenge right now, and demonstrating it so that our acquisition professionals feel comfortable spending money.
So what do you think the biggest challenges are to widespread adoption?
I think it's twofold. I think number one, it's the people that are doing the acquisition today have done things the same way for the last couple of decades. It's very difficult to switch into this more agile thought process and go more with commercial off the shelf than the government owned, government developed. So there's comfort level, right? So getting people willing to accept that. The other part really is once you do that, can you demonstrate it out to show them that it's going to work so they can sell that up to superiors? It's great to sit there and say, hey, the game that I just developed using Unity or Unreal or, pick another game engine. If I use those, can they go over into the battle space the exact same way? And the answer people go is, well, we're different, we're special. Well, you're not really special or different. It's just not been done before. And so it's demonstrated out with the ability to scale and scale at the level they need with the right security. And then this will go all the way to everything that we do today.
One of the recent success stories in the military for the use of augmented reality has been the Army's IVAS program. And one of the reasons that it's being touted as a success is because the Army didn't try to create all of the requirements and then go out and acquire the technology. They picked the vendor they wanted to work with and then went through an agile approach to get the product to what the soldier wants. Could you see something similar happening in the Air Force?
I'm not sure how the Air Force is going to approach it yet. The Army was a little different in what they did. They kind of rushed out, got funding, and said, "We have funding. We want this to be addressed. We're going to find a vendor to bring us capability." The Air Force kind of did a little different, where they said, "We're going to think about it, come up with some potential solutions, and then we're going to go out there and find vendors." The secret here is not to be too prescriptive with the requirements, and current infrastructure is always I want to have the 500-page requirements document, and it needs to be somewhere more like the 5-page. This is exactly what we needed to do, who it needs to connect to, the latency requirements, and then let industry come back with their solutions to the problem. That's part of that change, the comfort level that I think we're going to see. But I think the Air Force is right at the cusp of actually taking advantage of doing it.
Okay. So another thing that we're seeing is that the Army synthetic training environment, and then the Navy's got the Marines have its integrated training environment. Is the Air Force looking at something similar?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the way the Air Force is looking at this now is the CST, the Common Synthetic Training Environment. Like STI, it's how do you create the commonality in a cloud environment or a centralized environment and connect everybody in. So whether it's connecting models in to that operating system to run inside the government-owned stack, or at least the government-controlled stack, and then the input-output devices that'll connect to it. So whether that's an AR, VR device, whether that's a flat-screen TV or full simulator, how do we create all those? And then really it goes to the next level of whatever the Army does with STI, right? How does the Air Force connect to that they can actually work together? At the end of the day, the soldier is going to want to have the air support inside their exercises because that's how they intend to fight. So how do I build out the training infrastructure for the Air Force that's interoperable with the training infrastructure for the Army? Those are the things that we need to make sure that we're doing right today. Otherwise, 10 years from now, they're going to look at us and say, those clowns didn't know what they were doing when they developed these things. Right. I think it's feasible and possible. To be honest with you, these are the challenges that we need to reach out to industry and to people listening to this to go, we need your help to ensure it because you're the ones that are doing the heavy thought lifting that are going to come back to us with solutions. How do we make that happen? How do we make that happen?
So I'm going to go back to the question I asked a little bit earlier. Is there anything in the 4 years at AFAMS or any projects or anything that you're specifically proud of that you'd like to share?
So specifically proud of, we led the TACAIR AOA study And so I was the study director on that. I had my Navy counterparts that were along with it. But AFAMS sort of led the charge. And we were able to not only say there is a requirement to improve the way we do training, but we were able to validate through an analysis of alternatives, sort of, here's what we think we need to do for the future. That's money that's now being aligned to the POM, which is going to change the entire way we do training. So getting back to the questions you asked, is the Air Force willing to actually lead out and start making those changes? And the answer is yes. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're starting to fund the reality that they need to change. What does that actually look like? That's still open for discussion. And so what I would imagine is some kind of a consortium that gets put together to bring different vendors in to solve the problem. But right now, as an accomplishment, I think what we did on that AOA to change the leadership in the Air Force and the way they were approaching this problem set, and the call to make a change to actually address the training needs of the aviator, I'm really proud of it.
Gotcha. Okay, so 26 years in uniform, and you're getting ready to transition out. Do you got any big plans? Or first of all, let's ask you the question: do you have any big plans? And second of all, are you looking forward to having to choose what to wear every day?
So big plan. I'm going to Disney World. I mean, that's hands down. No, do I have big plans? So I'm going to stay in the local area. So I'm going to stay in the Orlando area. We've decided that we like it here. This is going to be home. We're going to raise our son here. And am I excited about choosing what I get to wear? No, it's mildly terrifying, to be honest with you. But I'm investing so that I don't look silly when I start showing up at events and don't have green or blue to wear as a regular person.
Well, look, anyway, again, thank you so much for the partnership and the support. It's been great working with you over the past few years, and look forward to, having you around in the community and continuing on serving a country in a different way.
I appreciate it, John. So you have been a good partner, and I appreciate what you're doing with the AR/VR Association, what you do with Unity. But really, we've really come to appreciate the community here and the professionals, what they're doing for the country. A lot of them who served in uniform, who've now transitioned over. So I look forward to going over into the industry side of the house and helping to solve these problems. So it's an exciting time, but I'm looking forward to it. It was the right thing for me.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Today our guest was Colonel Rob Epstein, who is the commander of the U.S. Air Force Agency for Modeling and Simulation for about another 3 weeks before he retires. Have a great day, everyone.